Welcome to the season premiere edition of Beyond the Arc here on High School Cube News. Brian Chimino with you with Michael O'Brien of the Chicago Sun-Times. And to get you ready for the season, we're going to count down the top 5 teams of the preseason Super 25 and then throw some names out there with some possible Player of the Year candidates. So, Mike, to put things in perspective, last year we had Cliff, Jalil, and Tyler. There was an abundance of individual talent, but this year it kind of seems like the opposite, where we have an abundance of teams.
Yeah, there are a lot of quality teams for sure. The top 5, top 8 are really solid. It's a nice group. After that, it gets a bit murky. And really, we only have one superstar premier player, and that's Stevenson's Jalen Brunson.
So let's start the countdown in honor of Casey Kasem. At number 5, they're led by Kentucky recruit Charles Matthews from the Chicago Catholic League. We're talking about the St. Rita Mustangs.
Yeah, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of St. Rita during the Gary DeCesar tenure that they have all this talent and have underachieved. I was really impressed with how St. Rita ended the season last year in that loss to Young in the sectional. I kind of think maybe things are going to be clicking with this group. Maybe they're ready to go. And the talent is everywhere. You know, Armani Chaney grew to like 5'10" or something. He signed with Tennessee State, so they have a real point guard. They have Miles Carter down low, and then 2 really dynamic guard talents in Kane Harris, who transferred from Morgan Park, and, you know, the Kentucky recruit Charles Matthews. So all the pieces are definitely in place for St. Rita. They have the talent to finish much higher than 5. They have the talent to win the state title. It'll just be a question of if this team can put it together.
Coming in at number 4, they fell short of Morgan Park in the sectional semifinal by just 1 point. Led by UMass recruit LaJuan Pipkins, they are the Bogan Bengals.
Yeah, Bogan is the team I'm really excited about this year. They don't have the talent, really, of a lot of the top 7 or 8 or even 9 teams. They don't have multiple for sure D1 guys, but they are a team, and they really just gelled together last year and gave Morgan Park and Simeon all they can handle, and they lost pretty much nothing. You know, Pipkins might be the 2nd best player in the state behind Brunson, maybe 3rd, depending on, you know, a newcomer from California we'll talk about later. You got Bryce Barnes, you have Antonio Thomas. James Jones is a player to really watch. He came on strong over the summer. They've got size, they've got multiple guys that can handle the ball. Bogan really has a chance this year to kind of put their name on the state marquee like they haven't before. You know, outside of the city, not a lot of people still know about Bogan. That's probably going to change by April.
Let's move on up to number 3. They are the 2-time defending Class 3A champions. They may arguably have the best backcourt in the entire state, depending on believe the hype of transfer Marcus Lovett. We're talking about the Morgan Park Mustangs.
Yeah, Morgan Park, as always, never dull. You know, they lost Kane Harris. He went over to St. Rita. But Marcus Lovett arrived 2 months ago, and boy, did he arrive with a splash. Got a Kansas offer. Apparently, he's looked to a lot of people that have gone to the open gyms. I haven't seen him yet, as one of the top guards in the city since Derrick Rose. You know, he has the pedigree. A lot of people loved how good he was as a freshman and sophomore. Then he's been through some troubles, gone to a few different high schools, but he could be the story of the season. Either way, you know, Morgan Park's loaded. They've got Charlie Moore back, who's grown quite a bit. You got Jaron Randall. They've got a lot of younger big men, and that really might be the key to their season. We know the backcourt's going to be fine. Alonzo Chapman is a 6'5", 6'6" junior. They're going to depend on him a lot and some other guys. If they can find some rebounding, Morgan Park really, once again, the sky's the limit, and they could win 3A. And
now it gets real fun in the countdown. Over the past couple of weeks, a lot of discussion on Twitter and the blogosphere about who's number 1, who's number 2. So at number 2, they were absent from Peoria for the first time in 4 years, 6 state championships in the last 8 years, 3 Big Ten players signing their national letters of intent. We're talking about the Simeon Wolverines.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that a team has 3 Big Ten seniors and they are not number 1. Simeon has so much talent. You know, they have 10 to 15 kids who are going to wind up at D1 universities. The reason they're number 2 is because Stevenson whooped them last year in that Stevenson-Simeon game, and I couldn't get that out of my mind. It's the same group of kids back, basically, and something was wrong with the Simeon team. Even as late as the Lane Tech game in the city tournament, you know, Robert Smith's telling me these kids don't know what it's like to wear the Simeon jersey. They aren't playing up to their potential. He was disappointed, and that really never ended last year, so it's hard to buy all in, even on the talent. But, you know, Ed Morrow this year is going to be a force. No more Cliff Alexander and Jalil Okafor in his way. Who knows what he's going to be able to do. If DJ Williams plays to his potential, that's going to be huge. One name to watch, though, is Isaiah Moss, who we haven't talked about a lot in the past. He signed with Iowa. He had a fabulous summer. He may be the scorer that they lacked the last couple of years. If he can step up, that'll be big, and that'll really help them sort of come together as a team once they realize who the main guy is. That's what they need.
And that kind of wipes out the mystery of who is number 1. 3rd place in Class 4A last year, 2nd place the year before. Jalen Brunson going to Villanova, Connor Cascia going to Rice. From the North Suburban Conference, the Stevenson Patriots.
You've got a team that the core of it made it to state as sophomores. The core of it made it back there as juniors. So it's pretty easy to pick them there again as seniors. Jalen Brunson's the best player in the state. You know, we know that. We know what he can do. Connor Cashaw is back. Matt Johnson is back. Parker Nichols is back. You know, that they have everything they need to do it except maybe the size. You know, it hasn't bothered them before. They've gotten to state every time, but you have to wonder about that with the Simeon matchup. Simeon has so many big bodies, they're going to be able to throw at them. If Simeon can get the perimeter scoring, it might be a lot closer this year. But Stevenson, just so battle-tested. You know, Pat Ambrose is a great coach. Even before he had all this talent, you know, he was winning so many games every year. This should be Stevenson's year.
So check out the entire preseason Super 25 right here on High School Cube News. Before we wrap up this edition, let's preview some of the top players, Player of the Year candidates, so to speak. Mike, first off, let's give them your first tier level.
Yeah, it's definitely, as we talked about, Jalen Brunson. Lawan Pipkins is going to be right there all year. After all the hype, you got to put Marcus Lovett in there. It'd be a pretty exciting list. And somebody, not a lot of other people have been talking about, but I think Edward Morrow from Simeon, he's going to score almost as much as those guys, and he's going to have huge rebounding numbers. I think he's really one to watch.
And also there is a little second tier where these players will have some work, but will be in the conversation.
You got to keep DJ Williams in there. You know, he had a great time in Dubai. Simeon played there this summer. He put up some big scoring numbers, so he's a real possibility. Glenn Watson at St. Joseph, a team that just fell out of the top 5. They're going to be number 6. You know, he's a Nebraska recruit. He's a really good high school point guard, and if St. Joe's has the year they could, I could see his name bubbling up. And also, of course, Charles Matthews, huge talent from at St. Rita that's going to Kentucky. He's the kind of kid, you kind of feel like he could explode at any moment and just have a massive year. So I think he's a top candidate as well.
And that'll do it for this season preview edition of Beyond the Arc here on High School Cube News. Season's tipping off Thanksgiving week throughout the Chicagoland area. For Michael O'Brien, I'm Brian Chimino. We'll see you next time.